We'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We're present, ready, Your Honor.
Sorry, Stacy Sabella for Alec.
We're looking with Emerald Area Casa.
All right, so Mr. Trout, got Mr. Ray as your witness today?
Yes, ma'am. And Your Honor, since we haven't done one of these, wasn't exactly sure how this was going to go. I know these can be done by submission of the documents in the court's approval if no objections have been made. I have not seen any objection made to it. I've had some conversations with Ms. Zavala. I don't believe she has an objection. I don't know about CASA, but Alec is placed in a qualified residential treatment program at this time. We believe this is the best place for him. It moved him closer to Amarillo and it's a little more structured environment. I believe it would be best for him to stay there. But we can ask Darius how he is doing there.
All right, and just so everybody knows, I've reviewed all the documentation that was submitted. So I've seen all the assessments and everything that you've provided. So Mr. Ray, how's he? Let's just get a quick update. How's he doing?
Honestly, Judge, he isn't doing too well right now. He's kind of been regressing, and we're trying to placement, myself and Mrs. King, we're all trying to figure out what is the best way to try to get him stabilized to be able to be the most productive within the placement. And what they're trying to look at is just his medication, getting that reviewed and trying to get him a new psych. But the concerns is that the state that he's kind of in right now, we're not really sure if he's stable enough to actually have a valid psychological.
Okay. Has he been hospitalized again? I don't think he'd been hospitalized since 2022.
No, ma'am, he hasn't been hospitalized again. It's just been severe behaviors, incidents with the police being involved, incidents running away, just various behavioral issues.
All right. Well, we'd had some improvement. Has anybody been able to figure out what the triggers are or what?
We've had meetings and we have speculation. All of us have various speculations, but there is no just valid answer as of yet to what is going on. We all kind of felt maybe there was a possibility that, all of this readjusting was just kind of a little fast and a little much for him. I hate to say this, but just in the sense of him coming from the placement he was at, it being such a secure placement, it kind of seems to an extent that how some people who are incarcerated, once they get out, that sense of freedom is a lot for them. And it kind of seemed like Alec may be displaying some signs of that, just not being able to adjust to the amount of freedom that he's getting, the amount of normalcy and being around other teenagers and truly, living in a sense of like how a normal teenager would live. It seems like it's kind of overwhelming for him to an extent, and he doesn't know how to actually handle it.
Okay. Well, I mean, he was in a very restrictive type placement when he was in Arkansas. So, does this placement feel like they're still meeting his needs, and they feel like they can try to work through this?
They're trying. They don't want to give up on Alec. They want to try to work through this the best they can, and they're willing to try to adjust the medication, see how that goes. And also, if we can get him in a better state of mind, they want to get a psych eval. I sent placement the old medication log from all his medications, so they're going to give that to the doctors as well, to the psychiatrists, and just see what we can do.
Okay. Well, have some of these issues, have they involved other kids? I mean, has he been doing these things just all on his own, or run away, or whatever involved law enforcement? I mean, has that involved certain other kids there at placement?
Yes, ma'am. Every incident has involved other kids, and that's the thing. It's a big peer thing, and some of it has been peer influence, and then truthfully, some of it has been Alec as well. Like in this last incident he got into a physical altercation with another boy, and it was made clear by placement that Alec was the instigator and that he continued to instigate the situation and even continued to brag afterwards.
Okay. Anybody hurt?
No, ma'am. No one got physically. I mean, they exchanged blows and kind of wrestled, and I believe one of the boys got put in a headlock, but there was no need to go to the hospital or anything like that.
And he's still in fairly intensive therapy, correct?
Yes, ma'am. That's correct. And he's also been refusing to go to school, and school is at the placement. He doesn't even have to leave to go to school, but he's just been refusing to go. They have a hard time getting him to go to school. It's just been a whole lot of regression.
Okay. All right, Ms. Zavala.
I agree with what's been reported. I really, at this point, even though Alec has regressed, my concerns are not with placement itself. You know, I've had good communication with placement. It seems like there's a good team in there trying to work the issues and trying to figure out what to do. With him this close, we've all been able to see him in person. He has expressed to me that he's got some concerns about medication, and I've seen him go from laughing to crying to laughing in 5 minutes. But it does feel like the whole team there at placement is really trying to figure out a solution. So as to actual placement at this time, I've got no issues with the placement, and don't know where else would be a better fit if there would be one. So in terms of the hearing today, I think my recommendation is to approve the placement and keep them there and keep working on these issues. But yeah, he's struggling, and I do agree with Mr. Ray. It's opening back up this freedom and interaction with a lot of the other kids. And I'm hoping maybe some tweaks with the medicine could help. But I don't have at this particular time specific concerns about the actual placement. I feel like they are trying to work with Alec and what he needs and trying not to give up on him, you know.
All right, Ms. King.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to echo what Adarius and Ms. Zavala said. Alec, he is up and down. For example, last night he was up. When he called me, he told me about eating a birthday cake. He told me about going to school and trying to read more. And I'm thinking, that's a positive. So of course we emphasize and encourage him, to keep that up. But then again, I could get a phone call tonight and it could be something totally different. He could be really saying, "Get me out of here, Miss Carla, get me out of here." So it varies. He did express to me when I saw him down there at his placement, he said, "I'm tired of being experimented on." And when I asked him to elaborate on that, he meant his medications. Mm-hmm. So I had to explain to him, what the team was doing, which I will echo the fact too, that QRTP team is doing a lot. They are having utilization review meetings with us. We are all getting together and discussing the best route to take with Alec. They're very open. I really have a lot of confidence in that staff at QRTP. I really do. And so I feel like if the medications are, if we can get him to where they don't make him take this roller coaster ride, I feel like he'll do better. But you just never know what you're going to get. When I pick up the phone, I'm not sure what Alec I'm going to be hearing from. I don't. So I just try to adjust to it and keep him calm as best I can. I do back what Darius is saying, that we don't approve of you being in fights at all. And I kind of gave him a little sermon last night about that. And he took it well. He did. I said, I will not tolerate hearing about you starting a fight. That is not Alec. I know you better than that. And he agreed with me. But I just feel like, yes, I mean, CASA does approve of this placement, Your Honor.
All right. Well, I think it's very clear that his needs could not be met in a foster home at this time. So I think this is a little obviously less restrictive than the RT that he was in Arkansas. You know, it doesn't surprise me maybe that he's having some adjustment issues and to, you know, like, I mean, Darius, I think you said it best. I mean, just kind of living a little bit more like a normal kid. You know, he's been in RTs. So, I mean, I think we've got to give this some time to see if he adjusts. So it sounds like placement certainly is they're meeting his needs. It's just whether or not Alec is going to kind of work with them, you know. So, you know, I think it's obviously consistent with short-term goals and hopefully long-term goals. I mean, maybe if we can get him adjusted to this environment, then maybe we can look at even a less restrictive environment. So anyway, I'm going to continue his placement in the QRTP, and we'll have another hearing. Let's see, our next review hearing is November 30th of 2023. And then we've got another one set for February 22nd of 2024. So we'll be back together, you know, in a little less than 2 months to kind of see how it's going. If we have any radical changes and we need to have a hearing before that November 30th date, y'all let me know. I really would like to see him adjust to this and make this work. Because, you know, the other route is going to be right back to an RTC. So, okay. I appreciate y'all. Thank you. Thanks for getting me all the documents and everything together. Zoom. We're live streaming, and Ms. Taylor is making our record. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, and Jennifer Mays is my privacy specialist on this case. Your Honor.
Bailey Sapien for Cameron.
All right.
And Judge, I'm assuming Dad is not in the waiting room. Correct.
I don't have either. No, I don't have Dad. I've got 2 other people, but it's not him.
Okay.
And just to refresh the court's memory, my client is a female.
You're right. Sorry about that. Okay, I'll eventually get with it today, y'all. I'm having a slow start. Okay, what do we have then? I know that the department in St. Francis are in support of Cameron remaining in this QRTP placement. I've reviewed the documentation that was submitted, been through all of that. So, Ms. Mays, anything you want to add to what you all have submitted?
Yes, I do want to say that Cameron is thriving in her current placement. She's waking up and attending her classes. She's also looking to graduate in May 2024. She's attending her therapy classes twice a week, their general therapy. She's also looking into going into the SIL program so that she could be closer to her siblings. She wants to be either in San Antonio or in Houston. She's also building a relationship with her brother Connor now, and they're having virtual visits right now. He's very positive for her. She's excited for that. She did say that her goal is to graduate and then to either become a professional basketball player or to do some type of music. The only thing that we're really working on right now is I'm currently getting her Social Security so that we can get her ID so that she can get a job, so that she can start saving money so that when she does go into the SIL program, she's got something to lean back on. But she's doing very well where she's at right now.
And what about behaviors and the issues that we've struggled with?
Okay. She has not had very many behaviors. I think the only incident that was reported was that she found a vape. And of course, when she found the vape, she turned it in. She took one puff, turned it in, but there has not been any major or any concerns about her behavior. She's doing very well.
Can I add something?
Yeah, my concern is that's where we need to be.
So I was Cameron's caseworker before, and then it's been through several people. And now Jennifer has it back and she's under me. And Judge Baker, I've never seen, I think that she is flourishing right now. And I think for her to state, like, they're really working on her independence and things like that. So I think like removing her from it for right now would be pretty detrimental to her, because I don't think she's at that point where she can be given that little extra mile. I don't think she's there yet. And I can't prove that by any of her, like the way that she's acting or anything like that. Just personally, and me knowing Cameron, and Bailey can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think she's there yet.
Okay. Is it just simply that change is hard for her? And if we made a big move and went to a foster home, that this is gonna upset the balance, so to speak.
In my eyes, I believe we had a meeting on October 3rd, I think, with the QRTP, and it was still to the point, like, I said, Cameron, let me see you. And she's like, no, nobody's going to see me today. And it was just, I could still see that there was just a little switch that could be flipped real quick. And I don't know.
If I can add to that, Your Honor.
Okay.
I reviewed the therapy notes that Cameron's therapist provided, and I agree with Ms. Simpson. I think there's still things that they're working on for Cameron to be able to be protective of herself outside of this program. And so because those things are still being worked on and haven't, and to use Ms. Simpson's verbiage, not been unlocked yet, I think that this is the proper placement at this time.
In reviewing the therapy notes, it seemed like very clearly that ongoing intensive therapy was still recommended. And we all know, we don't have to go into that since we're live streaming, but we know what her history is.
Freeze.
I think so.
Sorry, y'all. I don't know. This happened to me the other day. I don't know what is going on, why all of a sudden I'm having these internet problems. Okay. I don't know where.
Judge, you were saying that
I kind of lost everybody.
I don't know what's going on, why all the sudden problems. And then you said, I'm having internet problems. Oh, sorry. No, that was just sound. Let me look. You were saying we don't have to go into it since we're live streaming, but we know what her history is, and then you froze.
Okay. And okay, so we know what her history is, the trauma that she's been through, the long-term effects of that. And so, I certainly think it's appropriate for her to be somewhere where she's going to continue to get more intensive type therapy. And does she like it where she is? She seemed happy there.
She did during our meeting.
Yes. And when I spoke to her, she is very happy being there. She gets along well with a lot of the staff. She does lean on a lot of the staff for support. And so I do think it's a very good placement for her. She does struggle with the connection with her dad, and she still doesn't want any contact with them. So I think that she does still have some trauma that she's trying to resolve. But for the most part, I think that she's comfortable in talking or going to her staff when she needs something.
Okay. All right. So it sounds to me like everybody concurs that moving her to a less restrictive placement at this point in time could really upset the balance of what we've achieved right now. She's doing better right now than she has in a long, long time. Mm-hmm. So with her history of self-harm and some of these other things, I certainly don't want to do anything that's going to, rock the boat. So I will find that her needs could not be met in a foster home or less restrictive placement at this time, and we'll continue her placement in the QRTP. I think that's the most appropriate level of care for her at this time. I mean, she has some freedoms and some some ability to make some decisions, for herself, and which is all part of obviously growth and maturing, and we want her to be ready to make good decisions for herself. And it sounds like she's doing that. She's got her eyes on her future. So I think that's all very good. So I think that's consistent with her short-term goals and her long-term goals. We've got about a year, a little less than a year before she ages out. So I'd be real nervous about rocking the boat at this point in time. So, okay, we'll just continue everything. And then her next review hearing is November 30th
She's
of
having lots of internet
2023.
trouble
That'll
today.
be on the 9 o'clock docket.
Now it says I'm the host again. And I can ask Daniel to unmute.
It's because whoever comes in second, whoever she brings in second, is made the host.
Do not give me that authority.
All right, let's try again. For our status hearing, we're conducting this through Zoom. We're live streaming, and Ms. Taylor's making our record. Okay, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Judge, is Heidi Combs in the waiting room?
Yes.
Okay, she's my worker on this. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, Tyrell's trying to join right now.
Is
I
he
don't
on a
know.
device?
Yeah, his own device.
Is it labeled like LMG
Yes,
710
ma'am.
or something?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Oh, she's gone again.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Heidi Combs is my permanency specialist today. We're present ready.
Bailey Sapien on behalf of Mom, Miss Brown. My client is present and we're ready to proceed.
Gary Morales on behalf of respondent father Tyrell Hughes. Your Honor, I believe my clients, I was unable to get their full desire out, but I think they've asked me to orally move to have the judge set aside the adversary hearing because they said they weren't properly notified. I think they were wanting representation at that point. I obviously haven't had any chance to look into the details onto what kind of notice they received. Hopefully the department can elaborate, but I think from my last indication, that's where my client was wanting me to do, Your Honor.
Okay, they were both personally served on, but I don't recall whether that was before or after the adversary.
And he went over what he was served with. He said that it had no notice of any hearings on it. So
Judge, I'll announce T.D. Hammonds for the child. I'm ready to proceed.
Mr. Trout, any response as far as
I was looking at all my dates.
notice and everything?
Yes, ma'am. We personally served them on, I believe it was 8/17. And the hearing was held on 8/22. Neither parent appeared at that time.
And you're on, I'm sorry, Daniel, for cutting you off. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm just trying to make sure I got all my dates right. Hold on one second.
I was just going to add that my client had expressed similar concerns to me. And from what I could tell and what he showed us, it looked like they were served, but that perhaps the attachments were not included with the citation.
no notice was given as to the date of adversary is what they're telling us.
And we don't have the investigative caseworker here today. I don't know if anybody that's present with us today knows whether a link was sent to the parents or not.
No.
My notes reflect that the testimony that was given by the investigative caseworker was that parents were aware of the hearing, that they had been sent the links. Neither had requested attorneys. So, that was the investigative caseworker's testimony at the adversary hearing, that the links had been sent.
I never received one. And when I was told about the adversary hearing, I requested an attorney be present. When she did tell us about it, was after the fact, of course.
Well, okay. Mr. Trotter, you got anything else to
Judge, I'll
support
say
they
right
had
now,
knowledge?
There's, as you stated, there was testimony was given that they were sent the links. That was my understanding, is that they were notified. They had been served 5 days prior to the hearing. I'm seeing the return citation. I'm not seeing what it should have been attached to it, but I'm not seeing whether it was or not, the petition, but the citation is before adversary hearing, and it was testimony that they were notified and sent links to that. I don't believe we ever received any, to my knowledge, the paperwork for requesting an attorney was never sent prior to that until the court got it and attorneys were appointed, and that was, I believe, after the adversary hearing.
Yeah, I don't think we got the request, the statement of procedures from them until, I think, yesterday.
Yes, ma'am, those were filed yesterday.
Well, Mr. Morales, I'm going to deny it. I mean, they were both personally served. That certainly put them on notice of the suit. We had the sworn testimony of the investigative caseworker that links were sent, that they were aware. This is not Ms. Brown's or Mr. Hughes's first go round with this kind of case. So, unlike maybe folks that have never been involved with this, that's not the case. So they know that we have hearings. They know we have an initial adversary hearing. So I'm going to deny the motion to set aside the decision that I made at the adversary hearing, and we're going to go ahead and proceed with the status hearing today.
Understood, Your Honor.
All right, then what do we have new since the court report was filed? And I'm going to turn my video off for a few minutes, and I'm going to see if I can't improve my internet situation, but I'm here. So I'm here and listening.
Your Honor, before Mr. Combs speaks, I will say, looks like the family plans of service, they have been signed and were filed on 9/29/23 by both parents.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Combs, any updates?
No, sir, there's no updates. I just picked up her attorney forms and I filed them. They haven't been very compliant going to drug screens or anything, and they haven't started any services or attempted to start any services.
And service plans were signed on the 21st and filed on the 29th, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, we would ask also that both parents be ordered to hair follicle and UA. My understanding, they have yet to drug screen cars.
And the reason why I haven't went to drug screen or anything, because the last notification that I had was from Ms. Heidi that they only wanted my wife to go drug screen. There was nothing that they needed me to go do at the time, and she would get back to me whenever there was. So that's the only reason why I haven't. And we've been having car trouble, so we've been depending on rides. But on that case, the reason why I haven't is because I haven't been notified of anything else to do by Ms. Heidi.
And Judge, if we could also, we will, St. Francis will provide transportation for them if they need a ride to the drug screens. Today.
Yes, sir. We also have told them we can help them with rides if needed. They just need to contact us.
I apologize, Judge. I think we were talking and you were gone. I didn't realize you had dropped out.
The last thing I heard was that that St. Francis can provide rides if.
Yes, ma'am. If they need transportation to and from drug screens or anything, we can.
He's gone again, Daniel.
Okay, I'm going to turn off my video until see if we can't get this hearing concluded. And then I'm gonna restart some things. So I apologize, but I don't know what else to do. And let's see if we can get through this.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Well, but before I start making decisions about everything, then I want to hear from everybody. So, Ms. Sapien.
I don't have anything to add at this time, Your Honor. The only concern my client expressed to me this morning was about the adversary hearing, and you've already made a decision on that, so I don't have anything else.
Okay, Mr. Morales.
Nothing to add. I just would like to tell Mr. Hughes, I will call you on that phone number here in about 5 minutes within the hearing, okay?
Okay, then Mr. Hammonds.
Judge King is doing fine. I spoke to placement. He's having minimal withdrawal symptoms, a little sleep issue, some complexion issue as a result of just detoxing basically from the methamphetamine that was in his system. They do have a half sibling and a sibling of King in their home, so everything's going fine. I would suggest placement continue. I would suggest the court limit contact with King by the parents until they have provided clean drug screens. Thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hammonds. Okay, so I am going to order parents to go drug test today. They need to be there before 4 o'clock. Ms. Combs, you need to discuss with them whether or not they need transportation.
Yes, ma'am.
And that'll be hair and UA.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm going to grant Mr. Hammond's request as far as visitation until we get drug screens back, and see what kind of levels we're talking about, or whether we've got, whether we have a positive result or negative. But as soon as those come back, I would ask that those be circulated to all the attorneys. And then and get those to me, and I'll take a look at them, and then we'll determine whether visits can start. And for the parents' benefit, that the problem is that methamphetamine can be absorbed through skin-to-skin contact, and so since this is an infant, in an abundance of caution for the child's health, I want to just see what kind of levels we're talking about. Okay, I don't know where I lost y'all.
But we heard up until visitations and explaining to the parents why.
Yeah.
Skin to skin.
Okay, it's for the health and safety of the child until we know what kind of levels we're talking about, and what I'd really like to see are negative UAs, but we'll take a look at the levels and just see what we're dealing with. Service plans have been signed, so parents, I'm going to make those in order of the court today. You all understand how this works. You've been down this road before. I expect you to work your services. Failure to work services could mean child doesn't come home, and it can mean termination of your parental rights. So the services are important. Y'all get busy on them. Status hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom. We're live streaming, and Ms. Taylor is making our record. All right. We'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Abigail Lawrence is my primacy specialist, and we are present and ready on.
I'm sorry, Jeff Hill on behalf of the mother, Nikki Sweezy. I'm standing in for Natalie Archer this morning.
Lorraine Lucero, guardian ad litem for the mother, Your Honor. I'm present and ready.
Okay, and I've got mom as Ms. Reyes, Deanne Nicole Reyes.
And Judge, that's something we'll talk about today.
Okay. All right.
Stacy Zabala on behalf of the child.
All right, then. Okay, let's start with mom's name.
Your Honor, so when this case first started and contact was made by APD, when this case originally, when mom was fine with the baby, she gave the name of Nikki Sweezy. when they ran prints and everything else, it came back to Deanne Reyes. Mom has said that she has legally changed her name, but we have seen no legal paperwork showing that her name was actually changed. I don't, we're going off the assumption of fingerprints and all of the information came back to Reyes through law enforcement at the beginning of the case. If she'll show us or give us some paperwork where she legally changed her name, we can work with that, but we have not seen that yet. She did send a picture of a application for a new ID through the Veteran Affairs, but it was just the application, not the actual ID and not the paperwork showing that that's what her name was. Other than that, that's the only thing we have seen at this point, or I have seen at this point.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Hill, I guess until we know otherwise, I'm going to continue to refer to her as Ms. Reyes for right now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Then what do we have new since the court report was filed?
So, Leo is doing really well. He turned 4 months old yesterday. Placement, I mean, he's in a very loving placement. They have just been struggling with his colic and he's really fussy. They took him to the chiropractor this month to see if maybe just some realignment would help, and they haven't seen a ton of progress there. In regards to mom, I had really good contact with her. She signed her family plan, and all of her services were tailored to where she was at, which is in San Antonio. She had appointments made, things were going well. I lost contact with her on the 18th of this month. And she sent me a few emails just kind of saying that just this whole process and her being in between homes has been almost too much. And I don't think she was thinking she could handle it at this point. So I lost contact with her on the 18th. I did get in contact with Mr. Arredondo this month, and he asked me if we could get some paternity testing ordered because he is not sure if Leo is his.
And Judge, I'm not sure during announcements we recognize that Mr. Arredondo is present, it appears.
He is. Thank you. Yeah, he is present. All right. Okay. Anything else, Ms. Lawrence?
No, that would, and I've also gone over the family plan with Mr. Arredondo, and he did agree as well if he is a party in this.
And
so basically his position is he'll work services if he's the dad.
Yes, ma'am.
in your honor, it looks like they're in the middle of an ICPC on a maternal aunt in Oklahoma right now.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Ms. Lawrence. All right, Mr. Hill.
Judge, what I've been made aware of is that Ms. Reyes is homeless, staying in a shelter in Lubbock. She's trying to get her mental health under control, but she honestly doesn't know if she can get it done in time to make a difference in this case. You know, she's going to try though.
But she's in Lubbock now?
That's my understanding. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. And Ms. Lucero, have you been able to have contact with her?
I had some contact with her, Your Honor. Like, again, I'll just reiterate what Mr. Hill said. It's not that she doesn't want to work the services and all that. She's just struggling a whole lot. She's trying to, you know, deal with her mental health issues. So she'll be in a better position, you know, to move forward. But she's kind of focused on that right now because she knows if she doesn't get that under control, then she's not going to be able to progress. So, I mean, that's all I have to share with the court today.
Okay, Mr. Trent, you said something about the VA. So is she veteran?
That was the first I had heard of that, is when that picture was sent to us. I'd never heard that she was a veteran, but there, like I said, it was just a photocopy or a picture of a piece of paper that said application for new ID, and it was to the Office of Veteran Affairs, is where that was to.
All right. Counsel, do you know the answer to that? Ms. Lucero or Mr. Hill?
Your Honor, I don't. That's the first I've heard of it today, but I can follow up.
And
Ms. Lawrence, do you know?
Yes,
Ma'am, I don't,
she is a veteran. She was stationed in Colorado Springs for 2 years, and then she was discharged.
I think she was in the Army, I think is what that paperwork said, or that I saw.
Okay. Well, that could certainly maybe be of some help to her with mental health care. So, okay.
And we're running into, I'm not sure if they've got it figured out, but I have a note there. We're running into some issues on the birth certificate. Child was born in Oklahoma, I believe. So they're working on trying to get birth certificate on this, but I've had some issues with that.
Okay.
We did get it figured out, and they shipped it yesterday.
Okay, great. All right, Ms. Zavala?
Leo's in a good home. He is struggling with colic and just being fussy all the time. It sounds like he's happy when he's being held, when he's eating, and at bath time, and that's about it. But they've got doctor's appointments. They're working on it. It does look like he's able to keep food down and is gaining weight. He's generally not happy, and he seems to be pulling at his hair a whole lot. So they're kind of hoping to get permission to give him a little trim, just to give him one less thing to be annoyed with. But he seems to be doing really well in his placement in terms of them working with him to try to find solutions.
They certainly have permission to do that. Okay, Mr. Arredondo, can you unmute? Is there anything that you want to talk about today, or any questions that you have for me?
I just wanted to know about paternity tests.
Okay.
DNA testing, because I mean, if he's mine, I don't mind going through the process to get custody of him, due to the fact that Nikki's going through her mental issues. And if you guys need paperwork for her name change, I believe I have those in my photo albums, in my Google Photos. Because
Okay,
we shared phones at one time, and she had her email linked to my phone. So a lot of her photos were saved onto my device. So if I'm not mistaken, I believe I have that information of
okay.
her name change.
If you locate that, would you please forward that to Ms. Lawrence?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Okay. So let me talk to you about a couple things, Mr. Arredondo. I'll order the genetic testing. We'll get that in the works and get that set up. Okay.
Okay, and how does how would it take place? Because I'm actually located down in Miami, Florida.
Okay, that was my next question. So you'll get instructions on where to appear to, it's just, they'll just do a cheek swab, and then that'll be sent back to a lab. So
Okay.
we can deal with that you're out of state.
Okay, sounds good.
And so just understand that as far as working services, being out of state is a little more difficult for you.
Right.
And if you're so inclined, you may want to get started on what you can, because by the time we get results back on this DNA testing, you're going to have lost a whole lot of time.
Right.
And we've only got so much time that you can work these services.
Okay.
Okay. So, I'm required by law to admonish that failure to work services for the department could result in the child not going home, and it could result in termination of your parental rights if you turn out to be the dad. So, right. Just take that into consideration. The other thing is, have you been given paperwork to see if you qualify for a court-appointed attorney?
Yes, I have.
Okay. I would suggest that you fill that out and get that to me and let me look at that, because I think having an attorney would help you greatly in this process.
Okay.
So if you want to fill all that out and send it back to us, then that would be great. You can
I believe Ms. Lawrence has sent it to me through DocuSign. I don't know what's going on with my phone. I don't know if it's my phone or the system that's going on, but I signed it, but I don't know if it's actually not going through, because she hasn't received it yet.
Okay, well, I'll let you, Ms. Lawrence, touch base and get about that again if we need to resend, whatever we need to do. But I highly recommend you fill that out and return it. All right, then. So I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator. Find that it would be an ongoing danger to return the child home at this point in time. Mother being homeless, and then of course Mr. Redondo doesn't even know if he's the father yet. So I'll order the services be in order of the court. We'll order genetic testing on Mr. Arredondo, and then our next hearing is scheduled for February 1st of 2020. Ms. Sweezy, can you unmute your device for me?
Yes, ma'am. It's loud in here.
That's okay. Ms. Sweezy, we finished your hearing before you logged in. So I would suggest that you contact your attorney and or your caseworker, and they can give you an update. Okay, we are here for our initial comments and hearing. We are conducting this through Zoom. We're live streaming, and Ms. Taylor is making our record. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Shay Cairns is my permanency specialist today.
Kenner Hope for the mother. I've had no contact with Ms. Siciata, but I am present ready.
Stacy Zabala for Zaden.
All right, and Mr. Sestacia is not here, nor is Mr. Goody. And neither has requested an attorney. Mr. Sestacia was served, has been personally served. I don't know about Mr. Goody. What's the status of?
We have not found to serve him, Your Honor.
Okay, still looking, man.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then what do we have new since the court report was filed?
We have moved our goals to relative fictive kin adoption with the second of unrelated adoption. Zaden has also moved with his biological brother right now.
Okay.
And he is doing well. I still can't find the parents.
And so we obviously haven't been able to get any genetic testing done then.
No, ma'am.
So, all right. How's child's reflux? Is that getting better?
Yes, it is.
Okay, good. And parents have not initiated any services?
No, ma'am. I met with the mom once, and I've never seen either Charles or Christopher.
And is placement interested in adoption?
Yes, they are.
Have they adopted the sibling?
Yes, just earlier this year, I believe.
All right. All right, then, Ms. Naranjo.
I've had no contact with my client since the status hearing was the last I've heard from her, Judge.
All right, and Ms. Zavala.
I've visited with Zaden in his new placement, and he's doing well, and I do recommend that continue.
All right, then. I'll continue the department as temporary managing conservator, continue the child's current placement, find that it would be a danger to return the child to any of the parents at this point in time, since we have no idea where they are, what their situations are, where they're living, what they're doing. That, they have essentially, it appears, walked away from the child.
Yeah.
So our next hearing is going to be the final. And we were scheduled for a review hearing on February 1st. So let's go ahead and make that a final. If we have contact with any of them before then, and we are live streaming and participate, then we can always push that back. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We are, my work supervisor on the case is Stacy Brown. She'll be testifying today. We are present, ready on.
Brooks Barfield, attorney for Alexis Jassa, who is present.
Stacy Zabala on behalf of the kids.
Gary Morales on behalf of respondent father Elijah Castillo, Your Honor. He is incarcerated in TDCJ. I'm ready.
All right, then, what do we have new from the department? Kids still at home?
Real quick for Ms. Brown starts, Your Honor, just to update. It does look like paternity testing came back on Mr. Morales's client, and he is the father per the paternity testing on that, on both children. Also, after the last hearing and the reunification plan was sent out, we had a couple of hiccups on some visitations and some drug screening stuff. So I spoke with Mr. Barfield. We filed another reunification plan to kind of start back over and reschedule to push some things out. We agreed that that was route to go on that. So that is what's been filed. And so we would be asking for that new reunification plan to be made to order. And that's what I have for now. Ms. Brown can update that.
All right, and he's the father, he was found to be father of both children?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, and Mr. Morales, you can let him know.
And that was just filed yesterday, Your Honor. That report just came back. So that paternity test was just filed yesterday.
Okay. So have we started over yet on this plan?
Yes, Your Honor. Alexis had her first unsupervised visit this past weekend, and it was reported that it went well. She did submit to a hair follicle UA and alcohol screen. I believe it was last week or the last of the week before that, and they were all negative. So we're just moving forward with having the children reunited and placed with her on October 21st, as long as the visits continue to go well and she does not miss them.
Okay. And I read in the report that maybe there was some confusion about transportation of the children and all that, but we're all squared away now, right?
I believe so.
Everybody knows what they need to do.
Yes.
Okay. All right, then, Mr. Barfield.
Your Honor, just to echo what was already announced, I've received a phone call. Hiccups seem to be correcting themselves, so I don't have anything new to report other than what the court has already heard up to this point.
All right, and Mr. Morales, anything else to report today?
No, Your Honor, I will notify him of the results and send those to him. And I don't think he's eligible for parole until November of 2024, so there's still not much he can do, but that might maybe change his outlook.
I understand. All right, Ms. Balla.
Your Honor, I had been previously scheduled to meet with the kids with Ms. Jasso, but that was a visit that had to be canceled because of some medical issues, and then everything got pushed back. She's working with Kelly in my office to reschedule that visit. I think we may even already have a time set up. So I'll be going out there to meet with her when the kids are with her. And I'm glad that we've got the communication and transportation issues resolved at this point.
Okay. And you're on board with the reunification plan moving forward?
Yes, as long as everything continues as is laid out there now.
Okay. All right, then, I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator, continue current placement, but we'll move forward with the reunification plan. Find that that's in the children's best interest, and we'll see how that goes. And then our next hearing will be January 9th, I think, of 2024. And that's on a 9 o'clock docket. Has Dad been given the information to fill out for an attorney?
Yes, I provided him the information for the attorney. He refused to fill it out. I contacted him again, explained to him that that's how he gets an attorney and that he needs to complete the paperwork. He refused a second time, said he didn't want an attorney and that he just wanted to do whatever we told him to do. And I advised him against that, and he still refused to fill out the paperwork.
Okay. Okay. All right, we are here for our adversary hearing. Okay. We are conducting this through the Zoom program, and we have parents logged in by telephone. All right, we'll take announcements.
Daniel Trout. For the Department of Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, we're present and ready.
Vince Nowak on behalf of Roxana Ramirez. I am present and ready, and my client is here by phone.
Stacy Zabala, attorney for the child.
Mr. Trout, how many witnesses do you have today?
Just one, Your Honor.
Okay, let me just ask, Mr. Nowak, have you had an opportunity to visit with your client to see if there's any agreement?
I discussed with my client that there would likely be ordered court services, and my client acknowledges that and is willing to participate in court ordered services. And Ms. Ramirez, if I'm wrong, you can tell me that and we can have a private conversation.
No, I do agree.
If you would please translate to the father that mother has agreed for the department to have custody of the child and work services.
He said he need his house back. Whatever everyone need him to do, he will follow, he said.
All right, if you will ask him, does he agree that the department will have temporary custody of the child while he works services for us in things like drug testing?
Okay, but not apparently, not forever, you know. But I have apparently quite a time got my quite.
Yeah, he said yes, but just temporary. It's not permanent.
No, nothing we're doing today is permanent. And what he needs to understand is that we're going to need parents to get stable housing that's appropriate for the child. We need to get the child healthy again.
Yeah, he said if everyone, the judge and attorneys or servicer need him to do, he will follow.
All right. Does he want a court-appointed attorney?
Maybe a friend quite many tonight quite better.
He just need to follow the judge. He don't have any lawyer. He don't have any attorney.
But tell him I can appoint an attorney to represent him at no cost. Does he want one? Okay. I need to know what he's saying.
He's confusions right now. How he can make decision, but I try to ask him, he need lawyer or not? I'm waiting for his answer, yes or no. But
he needs to tell me yes or no.
The lawyer, I can't speak English.
Yeah, he said he don't know full English to talk to lawyer. He just scared to ruin his case like this, but yeah.
But his attorney can make arrangements to say, have you interpret so that he and his attorney can communicate.
Yeah, he said yes.
Okay. All right, then. I will appoint an attorney to represent him. And we will get that information exchanged. Okay. So it sounds to me like parents are both agreeing for the department to be named temporary managing conservator and that they will work services. So if you can interpret that.
Okay.
Yeah, he said, okay.
All right. Ms. Zavala, anything to report or add today?
Thank you.
Yeah, he don't have any question, but he just need to follow order and how he can do and how he can follow.
Okay. Ms. Zavala?
Your Honor, the child is doing well in placement. They've followed up with medical care, getting used to placement. I've got no concerns at this time.
All right, at this time, then I will name the department as temporary managing conservator of the child. I'll expect parents to work services. I will appoint an attorney to represent the father and find that there would be a continuing danger to send the child home to either parent at this point in time. And we will come back for our next hearing on November 14th of 2023. Mr. Ponderoff, we will get contact information from Mr. Anderson on how to reach you and tell you who your attorney is.
I apologize for interrupting. Two quick issues, visitation and potential placement. And I don't think anyone needs to take a note of this, but is there a visitation plan in place for mom?
So there was a temporary visitation in place. Mother has, Kim Flanagan with St. Francis has been attempting to get a hold of her. She had a visitation arranged this morning, but did not appear for it. Her initial was supposed to be this morning. Kim was unable to get a hold of her, and the address that Roxanne provided Kim was a non-existent address.
So,
Do I wait for? So, Mr. Anderson, is there a visitation plan going forward?
When the removal was done, a temporary one was put in place, and then St. Francis took over the visitation arrangements. I am not familiar with what the conversations Kim had with Roxanne, or what arrangements they came to.
Would I talk to Stacy Brown about that?
Yes, I'm messaging with Kim right now. She said that she's going to set up another one after this hearing today, and then there'll be a set time and day moving forward. I just don't know what that is. It's going to have to be between the family support worker and the mother of what's convenient for all of them, all parties.
Gotcha. And have y'all visited with Ms. Ramirez about potential family placements?
Are you asking me that question?
I'm asking whoever has the answer.
Oh, I don't have that answer, but I can for sure find out.
So Roxana initially provided 3 possible placements: her sister, the uncle on the paternal side, and a family friend. The family friend had 2 removals with the state previously, which excluded her. The sister is currently on bond, and her paramour is on parole. They were excluded. And then the uncle is where the father resides.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. But in terms of the visitation going forward, y'all will communicate with Ms. Ramirez?
No.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Daniel. That's all I have, Judge.
Okay, I'd just like for the interpreter to tell father, we've just been discussing how parents are going to visit with the child.
Your Honor.
Hang on, Mr. Truck. And Dad needs to understand he has to stay in contact with St. Francis and the caseworker. Okay, Mr. Trout.
Your Honor, I would ask that we hold off on person-to-person or in-person visits right now. Mother had pretty high levels of methamphetamine in her system. And I believe Dad also admitted to methamphetamine use during the initial investigation.
All right, let him interpret.
Okay.
I will. Ms. Zavala, what is your opinion about this?
I do share the same concerns.
Hang on, let him.
I share the same concerns about exposure. The levels were very high. It's possible if we could get a clean UA, that may reduce any exposure issues.
I'm looking at a negative UA.
When was that one, Your Honor?
9/16.
Well, I think if we're getting negative UAs, then that should take care of the concern.
Anybody disagree with that? Am I looking at something wrong?
Judge, I'm looking at the same thing you're looking at, and it's a clean UA from that date that you mentioned.
Based on that, I'll allow mom to have visits as long as those UAs stay negative. I want dad to submit to a drug test. And if he has negative UA, then he can have visits too.
Okay, I got it. Yeah.
No, you got it.
Okay. So he's going to need to drug test for us, and someone will be in contact with him to let him know when and where to go.
And
I'm sorry, he's supposed to interpret. I apologize. Go ahead, sir. I apologize. And the caseworker will contact Ms. Ramirez regarding visitation, correct? I don't know if this goes to Mr. Anderson, Ms. Jones, or Ms. Brown.
Yes, sir. Kim Flanagan is the caseworker moving forward, and she will get in contact with her.
Stacy, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And if the interpreter will just tell father that Kim Flanagan will be his caseworker. So he needs to answer her phone calls or text messages.
Judge, can we go ahead and ask for also mom to UA again? It's been a few weeks and she had admitted to pretty regular use, so just to make sure.
Sure. We'll send them both the drug test. All right. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. And I'll see you back then November 14th. We're here today setting up 2023 hearing. This is actually a reset. And we are conducting this through Zoom. We're live streaming and Ms. Taylor is making our record. Okay, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We are present, ready on.
Stacy
Okay.
on behalf of Summer.
All right, and Mr. Enlow is present with us today. So, Mr. Enlow, have you been given the information to fill out to request a court-appointed attorney?
Yeah.
All right, do you intend to do that?
No.
Okay.
In your honor, Ms. Zavala and I spoke to Mr. Enlow just a while ago and explained to him that he could have an attorney, and also that ways we could deal with his case today would either be by agreement or by hearing. Mr. Enlow has indicated that he is in agreement with Summer staying in temporary managing conservator of the state right now, and for the parents to work services. We have not been able to talk to Ms. Jewett about that, but as of right now, Mr. Enlow has indicated that he is in agreement.
All right, sir. Then you certainly, even though you're agreeing today, you are certainly welcome to fill out that paperwork at any point in time, and I'll review it. And if you meet the criteria, then I'm happy to appoint an attorney to represent you.
Okay.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
And it probably would be a very good idea for you to do that. So, all right then, Mr. Trout, I guess we'll need to proceed and put on some testimony with respect to mom.
Yes, ma'am. And I would have one witness, Miss Lisa Hennigan.
Yes. Judge, can we mute Mr. Enlow? There's lots of background.
Yeah, I'm just going to mute you, Mr. Enlow. We can unmute if you need to speak. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I will just, of course, Mr. Trout, we did have a hearing while this case was still a court-ordered services case. Of course, I've reviewed my notes from that hearing.
Okay.
I don't know how far back you want to go into this, or whether you want to just basically address sort of what has happened since that point in time.
Yes.
But I have reviewed all of that.
And
So
how are you familiar with that case?
I worked the case.
Okay. How did the department become involved at the beginning?
The department became involved. We received an intake on July 14th with concerns about Miss Jewett's methamphetamine use and prostitution. We received another intake on August 10th that had more concerns about the summer being around drug users, about mom addicted to fentanyl and also prostitution then.
Okay. And at the beginning of this case, y'all worked it and ended up going into a court-ordered services. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so we'll kind of pick up at that point. Court-ordered services were ordered.
Yes.
And did parents cooperate at that time?
No.
And in which ways did they not? What were you looking for at that time that they did not cooperate with?
The first hearing for that was on August 22nd. They didn't show up. It was rescheduled to September 5th. They also didn't show up, but I was able to catch mom outside of her home and give her the orders and tell her that they needed to go. I gave her the orders, told her about the process and how it was decided, and that they needed to go and drug screen by the end of the day. And she said that they would.
Okay. Did mom ever go drug screen?
No.
Did was mom, you weren't able to talk to dad at that point, is that correct?
At that point, no.
And so mom advised she would let him know?
Yes.
Okay. Were you able to talk to Mr. Enlow later?
Later, yes.
Okay. Did you bring up their lack of drug screen at that point?
Yes.
And you notified them that they both needed to drug screen?
Yes, and he agreed to go either that day or the next morning.
Okay.
Oops. Not sure what that's about. I'm out of town. I apologize.
It's all right. If we get your video back, that's great. If not, we've got good audio with you.
Okay, I apologize.
You're good. Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. So dad had said he would go drug screen. Did he go drug screen for you?
No.
And at that point, due to the concerns of drugs within the house and possible exposure to the child and parents refusing to drug screen, did the department ask for the removal of Summer?
Yes.
And was that granted?
Yes.
Were the parents also around that time being evicted from their home?
Yes, they were.
Okay. And have they since been evicted?
Yes.
So the court granted the removal of the child.
Yes, sir.
Was the child seen by any medical care specialist?
Yes, the day of removal, I took the child to let's see here, Amarillo Stat Care to be checked out.
Okay. And was a drug screen performed on the child?
Yes.
And what were the results of that drug screen?
The results were positive for fentanyl and methamphetamine.
Okay. And remind us again, how old is Summer?
3 years old.
Were any other concerns come up during the medical visit?
There was some concerns. The nurse practitioner was a little concerned about some of the answers she gave about a very small bruise on the back of a thigh underneath her buttocks and a hair that was seen around her vagina area.
Okay. And so did they order to have it sent for an exam?
Yes.
And everything on that came back, no findings, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. But the child was checked out thoroughly and the main issue was the drug exposure and positive drug screens.
Yes.
And does the department today, how is the child doing right now?
The child is in foster care and doing well.
Okay. And she is placed in the Lubbock area?
I believe so.
Okay. The department today is asking for temporary managing conservator of the child and for the parents to work services. Is that correct?
Yes,
And do you believe that is in the best interest of the child?
I do.
I'll pass witness, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Enlow, do you have any questions you want to ask Ms. Eninga?
No, I don't.
All right. Okay, Ms. Zavala?
Ms. Zuniga, is there a home study pending on paternal grandmother in this case?
I believe so, but that would be St. Francis to ask.
Pass, please.
All right. Okay, you can call your next witness.
I don't believe I have any other witnesses, Your Honor.
All right, department rests.
Department rests.
Ms. Zavala, any witnesses to call today?
Witnesses, Your Honor.
All right, do you have a recommendation to make to the court today?
Yes, it is my recommendation that Summer remain in the temporary managing conservatorship of the department. She is doing well in placement. She's receiving medical care. I believe they're looking at some follow-up for her vision potentially. But in general, she's doing very well. I had heard that there was a home study pending on maternal grandmother. If there's not one, I would request one, but I believe that's already in the works. And Your Honor, I would ask in terms of visitation that there be some precautions taken due to Summer's exposure. I'm especially worried about the fentanyl and meth as well. So I would ask for negative UAs and potentially at this point, masking, gloves if needed. I'm worried about that exposure for her.
All right, thank you, Ms. Nola.
And
All right, this time, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, we would join in that.
All right, this time I find the evidence is sufficient to name the department as temporary managing conservator of the child. I find there's a continuing and ongoing danger to the child to be returned home. I find that the department has used more than reasonable efforts to avoid the removal of the child and to leave the child in the home with the parents. But the drug test results are very concerning. And I will not allow any in-person visitation between either parent and the child until we have a negative UA. Mr. Enlow, these are very dangerous drugs, and they are very dangerous to a young child. And, you know, I guess I have to say I feel grateful that we're sitting here and that Summer is with us. Because what you all have exposed her to, the outcome could have been very, very different. So if you don't know how deadly these drugs are, particularly in young children, then you need to educate yourself, or we're going to try to educate you about it. But, you know, it is beyond, the word concern doesn't even sum it up. So, you know, y'all need to do what you know how to do to get clean, to get away from it, change your environment, whatever you got to do. But, you know, you've got to demonstrate that you all can stay away from drugs. You can work all these other services that the department's going to talk to you all about. But the truth is, if you can't stay away from those drugs, I can't send the child home to you. No, because the next thing I'm going to see on the 6 o'clock news that a 3-year-old has died from fentanyl exposure. And that's not going to happen on my watch. So
I understand.
Stay in touch with these folks. They're here to help you, you know. So do your best not to view any of us as the enemy, because that's not what we're here for. You know, this isn't a criminal venue. This isn't anything like that. We are here to try to help put the family back together, but you all have got to do your part. So we will have our status hearing on November 7th of 2023, and that's a 9 o'clock docket. They'll make sure that you know that you get login information. I encourage you and Ms. Jewett both to get that paperwork back to me so I can get you all attorneys. You know, that's your best bet for success in this case, is to have legal guidance throughout the case. So I hope you all will do that.
And Your Honor, I would also ask, I think Mr. Enlow said he's out of town working right now, but I would also ask if we can go ahead and get hair follicle and UAs done. I'm not sure when he's coming back into town, but if we could get those ordered.
Mr. Enlow, when are you going to be back here?
I'll be back later this afternoon. It'll be dark by the time I get into town, but I'll be back later on this afternoon. I work out of town, but I'm back in town every night.
Will you be in town during the day tomorrow?
I'll just have to take off tomorrow morning to go do that.
Okay, I'm going to order you to go drug screen, you know, before noon tomorrow. And same with Ms. Jewett. So we'll need to get word to her too. But you know, you need to go out to Care Express. Do you know where that is?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's where y'all need to go. So be there before noon tomorrow.
All right.
All right, then I'll see everybody back here today, November 7th, for our adversary hearing. We are conducting this through Zoom. We're live streaming, and Ms. Taylor's making our record. Okay, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Present and ready, Your Honor.
Bailey Sapien on behalf of Oclita Chandler. My client is present and we are ready.
TD Hammonds for Israel Garza, father of Talia. We're ready to proceed, Judge.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of the kids.
All right, and Mr. Darnell Donald, who is the alleged father of Adaya and Zavion, is not present. Have we made any contact with him yet?
We have not been able to find him. I don't believe, Mr. Native Tirado, have you been able to find him yet?
I have not had any luck trying to talk to him.
Do we have any information about where he lives or anything?
I did receive results from our finder search, and I was able to find an address, which I did send a certified letter to and have not heard anything back. And we've also reached out to a phone number that we had, but that one's been disconnected.
Where was that last address? I mean, was it here in Amarillo or is it somewhere else?
It was here in Amarillo, I believe.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Okay.
And Judge, before we start taking testimony, could I give you a little information that might factor into your decision about placement of Talia?
Sure.
Judge, before I was appointed to represent Israel, the department had been in contact with him, and he had made a comment that he would like to have a paternity test done. In talking to him, the only reason he asked for that was because he was wanting to get his name on the birth certificate, and for some reason, he felt like a paternity test would help him do that as quickly as possible to get a new birth certificate. I explained to him it might be 9 months to a year down the road before a new amended birth certificate might be done anyway because of a final order being entered in this case. But initially, if he does a statement of paternity, it would basically put him in the same position as a DNA test that confirms him as the dad. I asked him if he had any questions about him being the father of Talia, and he expressed to me no. So I think if we can swear him in, if he takes responsibility for being the father of Talia, I would like the court to then consider Mr. Garza or his family as placement. He's a non-offending party in this situation.
Okay. I mean, he did file a pro se answer and did request genetic testing. And, we talked a little bit about that at our first setting. And I explained to him, I really couldn't order that until, I potentially named the department as temporary managing conservator. So, I can certainly adjudicate him as the father, depending on the outcome of this hearing.
Yes, I think if we can swear him in, and if we can do that, and then I think as far as Talia is concerned, I think the department might be able to find some family placement for her.
Okay. So again, I mean, I don't think I can just adjudicate him like right this second until I see if we're going to keep this case moving forward. So I understand. But I certainly appreciate the information, and so everybody knows now that if I do decide the department needs to be named as a temporary managing conservator, then that is something that I can certainly do at that time.
Okay.
And Your Honor, when I spoke to Mr. Hammonds a while ago, we didn't really talk about this, but if Mr. Hammonds and his client are in agreement with the hearing today, I'm not sure on that, or if that was his only question.
Well, like I said, Judge, I guess we're in kind of a catch-22 position. If Mr. Garza, for instance, goes to the St. Francis office right now and swears to an affidavit of paternity, I don't know that the department would have to be named as temporary managing conservator if they find him to be an appropriate placement. If he is her father and he hasn't done anything wrong and he goes and takes a drug test and, he satisfies them that he can care for her,
Sure. Well, I mean, he could certainly sign an acknowledgement of paternity. You're absolutely correct about that. And he can do that without, court intervention, but and then that could be filed appropriately, but with the Bureau of Vital Statistics and the Attorney General's office and all that good stuff. But I think
well, for instance, if you name,
let me ask this. Ms. Sapien, is your client ready to, is she ready to announce an agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. So we really just need some testimony regarding Mr. Donald. And I already know that there's not much there to talk about. So I would just guess, it would be kind of a question of, we could adjudicate Mr. Garza, certainly. And, but obviously, if he isn't agreeable to the department being named temporary managing conservator, then I understand. I'll tell you what, let me have a bench conference with the lawyers.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Hammonds?
Yeah, Judge, I'll announce to the court. Yeah, I'll announce to the court after my conversation with Mr. Garza, we will agree to TMC to the department with the understanding Mr. Garza will get with his caseworker and do an acknowledgement of paternity, and then, the department can start their process of reviewing his family situation and everything like that to see if he might be a proper placement for Talia.
Do you want me to just adjudicate him today? If we're going to name the department TMC, I can do that.
That'd be fine, Judge.
Okay. And so, Ms. Sapien, is that your and your client's agreement?
I believe so, Your Honor. Ms. Chandler, could you unmute your device and state if that is your agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And Mr. Hammonds?
Judge, that is our agreement. If you want to swear Mr. Garza in and take some testimony from him regarding his paternity situation, that'd be fine.
I'm fine as long as you've discussed it thoroughly with him. Then I'm fine with going ahead and just adjudicate.
Okay, that's fine, Judge. I can tell you we've discussed it at length.
Okay. All right, then, Ms. Zavala, do you believe that that's in the best interest of the child?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, then, Mr. Trout, if you want to call a witness regarding Mr. Donald, then we can go from there.
Yes, Your Honor, we'd call it Samara Pineda. I'm familiar with that case.
I'm the investigator on the case.
Okay. And real short, how did the department become involved in this case?
We initially became involved on July 28th due to a report that we received with concerns that Ms. Chandler and her baby had tested positive for cocaine at the hospital.
Okay. And were you able to meet with the mother?
Yes, I was.
And what is the mother's name?
Oclita Chandler.
And did the department work with Ms. Chandler to try to prevent removal and set up safety plans?
Yes, sir.
And throughout your conversations with her, did you find out who the father of the children were?
Yes.
And who are the father of the newborn?
Israel Garza, I believe, is the father to Talia Chandler.
Okay. And who is the father to Xavier and Adaya?
Donald Darnell.
Okay. And did you receive any information as far as contact information for Darnell Donald?
I saw that there was a phone number in our impact system for him that was disconnected. And then I did try to notify him through a certified letter, and I was unable to reach him.
Okay. Throughout your time in the case with the safety plan going forward and open through now, has Ms. Chandler given you any information of how to get in touch with him, or does she have any idea on that?
No, sir.
Okay. And you said your efforts, you sent a certified letter to a residence
Yes, sir.
and received nothing back on that.
Correct.
And phone number that you had was not working?
Correct.
Have you been able to find any family members?
I have not.
Okay. Did Ms. Chandler say whether she knew any family members of his that possibly know where he is?
Not that I know of.
And you, one more time, you said you ran what finder searches?
Yes.
And tell us just shortly what exactly that is.
Finder search, I received back an accurate search that has residences or addresses for him. And I sent a certified letter to the most recent address on file for him.
Do you know, does it say when that address came in? Like how long ago that address was, do you know?
Yes, there was a time frame on it and it was still currently active from what I could tell.
Okay. But were you able, is that an Amarillo address or is that an out of town address?
It was an Amarillo address, I believe.
Okay. Were you able to go by that address or did you just send a letter to it?
I had just sent a letter.
Okay. But no response. Did the certified receipt come back?
Correct. No response from that.
No response at all. Okay. And you heard a while ago, Ms. Chandler and Mr. Garza both are agreeing to TMC.
Yes.
And due to not being able to locate Darnell Donald or any family members at this time, do you believe it's in the best interest for the state to have temporary managing conservatorship?
Yes, I do.
And you believe that that is in the best interest of the children?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay. Any further witnesses?
Just real quick, if I could call Ms. Chandler just to ask her a little bit about Mr. Donald. And Ms. Chandler, you heard testimony just then as far as Mr. Donald, correct?
Yes.
Do you have any idea of where he may be or how to contact him or?
I don't know where he lives at, but I know his mom.
Okay. And if you could get that, well, you know how to get in touch with his mom?
Yes.
Okay. But you have no idea if he is still in the Amarillo area or if he's somewhere else at this time?
I believe he's still in Amarillo, but I don't know where he stays or anything.
Okay. And I don't want you to give out any addresses or anything like that. What is his mother's name?
Candace.
Okay. And I'm not going to ask you any contact information on her right now. If you could you get that information to your attorney so that she can get it to us and we can try to track him down?
Yes.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Any further witnesses, Mr. Trout?
No further witnesses, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Sapien, you have any witnesses to call today?
I do not, Judge.
All right. And Mr. Hammonds?
No, Judge.
And Ms. Zavala?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Everybody rest.
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 Rest, Judge.
All right. Ms. Zavala, do you have a recommendation to make?
It is my recommendation that it's in the best interest of the children to remain in the temporary managing conservatorship of the department.
All right. Thank you. All right. Then at this time, Mr. Garza, I'm going to adjudicate you as the father of Talia, establish the parent-child relationship between you and the child. So congratulations. I'm going to find that the evidence is sufficient to name the department as temporary managing conservator. Find that there's a continuing danger to return the child home, that the department has made reasonable efforts to prevent the removal of the child. Obviously, we'll be expecting parents to work services, and we'll talk about that more later. And so I will sign an order and see everybody back for the status hearing on October 5th of 2023, and that'll be on a 1:30 docket.
That's today.
Judge, my calendar that was sent out, it had November 7th, but you're saying that should be October 5th?
I have, no, that's today. I'm sorry. I was reading something off my paper. No, it is,
Oh.
it will, November 7th. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I got
Yeah.
you. I got you.
November 7th on a 9 a.m. docket. My apologies. For
Yeah.
our adversary
Gotcha.
hearing. We are conducting this through the Zoom program. We're live streaming and Ms. Taylor's making our record. We'll go ahead and take announcements first.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We are present, ready on.
Hey, Michelson, on behalf of the mother, Nini Toon, it's my understanding she has permission to be absent, having signed an agreed order.
Inter for the child and present ready.
All right. Yes, my understanding was that mother has agreed. So we let the interpreter go, but that we did need to take some testimony, I guess, about the father, correct?
Yes, ma'am, please.
Okay, then. How many witnesses you have?
One, Your Honor.
All right.
Ms. Lewis, how are you familiar with that case?
I am the caseworker on that case currently.
Okay. And the department's been involved in the case with this child for a while, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And mother, they were working some services?
Yes, they were working with Family Based as well as the TFF program through St. Francis.
Okay. And how were services going at that time throughout that?
There was not a lot of progress. Mom continued to be overwhelmed with Pew's behaviors. There was not a lot of change in Pew's behaviors. I believe over the summer when she was not in school and not on a consistent routine, her behaviors just continued to get worse. She was still not bathing, still not wanting to wear her oxygen. Mom worked, and there was a grandmother that would come in and help with the kids, and it was becoming very overwhelming for her as well. Mom was cooperative with Family Base. She was also cooperative and engaging when TFF was in the home. But there was just not a lot of movement or progress on things.
And there was some, just kind of briefly, there were some few incidents of bruising and stuff on Pew that's happened recently.
Yes.
Mom discussed, and you heard her attorney a second ago, that mom is agreeing to TMC to the department.
Yes.
But those were based on our main reason as far as some medical neglect and needing to make sure that Pew is being taken care of.
Yes.
Okay. Mom did express an interest at one time of allowing the state to have TMC of Pew for those reasons, correct?
Yes. She contacted me on September 18th and told me that she no longer had the help of her mother and it was just too much for her and she needed to let Pew go and get the help she needed.
Okay. As far as the dad in the case, what is the dad's name in this case?
His name is Kyle Wynn.
Okay. Have you ever been able to locate him?
No, I have not.
Does mother have any idea how to locate him?
I asked her about his whereabouts. She told me that he has not been in contact with her or Pew in quite some time. And it's her understanding that he went back to Thailand and that he is involved in the military there.
Okay. So safe to say this time you have no way of contacting him.
No, I have contacted the Thai embassy here in America, trying to get some, I guess, direction on how I can locate him. But that's kind of turning out to be a dead end because there's a lot of things that I need to have copies of his passport, all kinds of those things that we do not have access to. So I have not been able to even find a really concrete lead on locating him.
Okay. And looking in the case file, it looks like y'all ran a finder search.
Yes, sir.
And did anything come of that?
No, the last known address for him was in 2012. So
Okay.
there's not been any him trying to get an apartment, a car, anything like that in quite some time.
Okay. And on that, I believe I saw where they also searched Facebook and didn't find anything, any account or anything that way.
Correct.
Is there any other, I know you mentioned a grandmother that had been kind of helping, but is there any other family that could have helped out?
Mom tells me no, there's no one in the family that is willing and able to meet the needs of Pew.
Okay. Is the department today asking for temporary managing conservatorship of the child in view, based upon mom's agreement and upon not being able to find dad and information that he is possibly not even in the country anymore?
Yes, we are.
And you believe that's in the best interest of the child?
Yes, I do.
Where is the child right now?
She is in a foster home in Spring, Texas.
How is she doing?
She's doing pretty well. It's been an adjustment for her, but she's wearing her oxygen as she should. We've even gotten reports that she's been taking baths. She's taking her medicine. She's doing a lot better with the structure and the routine for sure.
Is this home, does it have other children in it, or is she the only one in there?
No, there are other children in the home she's currently in. It is a temporary home. It is a step bed. And it is my understanding that St. Francis has secured placement for her that she will be going to, I believe, tomorrow. And it is a GRO in Pearlman, Texas.
Okay. All right. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Michelson?
No questions, Your Honor.
Okay, and Ms. Naranjo?
Miss Lewis, before Pew was removed from the home, was there any progress in getting her in behavioral therapy or counseling?
So mom had been in contact with the counselor from the phase program, which is what they were trying to set up for her. But the phase program was not able to get a definite coordinate with mom. And so they had decided to go to the school to make contact with Pew there. They were unable to do that because mom had not signed a release for them to be able to make contact with her at the school. And then the provider was having a very hard time getting in touch with mom again, just to get the release signed. So there was no consistency, no follow-up or anything like that on trying to get that set up.
Now that Pew is in the care of the department, are there plans to get her into behavioral therapy and counseling?
I'm sure there is. Yes, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness.
Okay. Anybody have any further questions for Ms. Lewis?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay. Department rest.
Department rest.
All right, Mr. Michelson, anything today?
No witnesses, Your Honor, and we rest.
Okay, and Mr. Naranjo?
No witnesses, Your Honor, I would rest.
And do you have a recommendation?
Yes, I do. I do recommend that it's in the best interest of Pew that the department be named temporary managing conservator and that her placement continue and that she be placed over at that GRO. She is doing well in her current placement and is happy and healthy. And hopefully with getting some counseling done for her, we can hopefully make some progress. As well as Judge, I don't know if it's necessary to still have that participation case going on now that Pew has been removed from the home.
No, we'll dismiss out of that. Obviously, mother can get the same services, through this case. So it's just structured a little differently. All right, I appreciate it. Okay, at this time, I do find the evidence is sufficient to name the department as temporary managing conservator. I find that reasonable efforts were made by the department to prevent the removal of the child from the home, that there would be a continuing danger to leave the child in that situation. We were not making progress, specifically concerns about child's hygiene and not wearing the oxygen is obviously a huge thing. We'll keep working with mom on services, obviously. And once the child gets settled, then I assume we will do something about maybe therapeutic visitation between child and mom. My opinion right now is that's where it probably needs to start. I think this is a kiddo that needs a lot of structure, at least to work through some of these things. And maybe she will decide that she misses home and we'll be a little more compliant about following the rules there. So anyway, we'll keep working with her, and maybe this will be short-lived. I don't know. Okay, I'll see everybody back for our status hearing on November 14th, 2023, and that'll be in 9 o'clock docket.